The year is over halfway gone and we still haven't made a pass with our twin turbo 1500 horsepower drag truck. Now, we've been working non-stop on this thing since last September when we rolled a bare shell into the shop, and we are so extremely close to making this thing run under power. But before we do that, we get a few fabrication things left to do, so let's jump right in and get this twin turbo beast ready to hit the road. All right, task number one is to modify this very generic coolant overflow bottle, which would probably work almost as it is, to fit very nicely in this corner on the fender. And of course, you know me, it's gonna involve welding, threaded inserts, and way more time than anyone justifiably could spend on it. But it's gonna be awesome. I gotta tell you, some days I wish I could just leave well enough alone. I mean, the way they designed this, you can just bend these little tabs. You could run a screw through there. You can stick it to the fender and be on your way. Should take 8 minutes. But I just simply cannot do that. Here's the perfect example. On the front, the bracket is bent around to hold on that little raised area, but not on the back. So we're going to do that. I've got the bottom two mounting points taken care of. I've got the nut certs installed on the fender. I'm just gonna have one on the top up here, but because it has a little different plane that it mounts on, I got it all kind of bolted in place. I'll tack weld it, then we'll remove the little cage, paint it, and then we're done. And if you're wondering after last week's video with our little map sensor debacle, yes, I did make my own aluminum spacer, and we are going to be painting both that and the washer spacer. And we have some goodies for the daily driver. To get the best performance out of our twin turbo 6.2 engine, we're gonna have to run it on a premium fuel. I mean, your body is no different. But if you're like me, you realize it's kind of difficult to get the correct nutrition. So when Groons reached out about sponsoring today's video, I immediately said yes, because it's the perfect way to give my body the nutritional tune-up that it desperately needs. Groons is a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into a snack pack a day. This isn't a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price. And as a bonus, it tastes great. It's simple, really. You just eat 1 pack of gummies a day, and with that, you get over 20 vitamins and minerals and over 60 ingredients, which include nutrient-dense and whole foods. With Groons, you're going to feel like a twin-turboed LS running on race fuel. The science that goes into these Groons gummies is impressive. They're methylated, which means the vitamins like B12 and folate can actually be absorbed by your body. They contain 3 times the amount of dietary fiber as the leading greens powders. They have biotin, which supports thicker hair. And one thing you car guys might get a kick out of, Groons actually contains chromium and molybdenum, 2 elements in chromoly steel, which make for a really strong roll cage. Who knew? So to try out Groons for yourself and get up to 52% off, just click the link below this video. They taste great, they're convenient, and they have benefits that'll have you feeling as healthy as a cammed LS with a pair of big old turbos. The last thing that I need to do before we can drive this truck like technically, is make the wastegate dump tubes. I mean, we still have a lot of little stuff to do and really need to put the injectors and the bigger fuel pump in, but I can at least kind of drive it without getting into a whole lot of boost as long as we have those dump tubes in place. Now, we built the exhaust and the manifolds and all that other piping forever ago, but the wastegates, they're mounted up top, and all the gas is going to come out here, which without a dump tube is going to just blast right at the firewall. And over on this side, I didn't put a light in there, but that would basically melt my whole wiring harness. So in terms of importance, the 2 wastegate dump tubes are at the top of the list. So that means it's time to bust out the welder again. So these little shot glass looking thingies are actually a couple of transitions. It goes from, this one is 1.5 to 2 inch. I really need, as you can see down here, I need to go from 1.75 to 2 inch. That was the closest thing I could find. So we just need to do a little bit of cutting. We're gonna weld these to the V-band. That's right at the outlet of the wastegate. And then I think tomorrow the rest of my builder's kit will be here. It's completely 2-inch stainless. So I wanted to upsize just a little bit so there's plenty of flow for the wastegate to do its thing. I kind of was knocking it at first a little bit, but I got to say this Harbor Freight belt sander has been probably my best investment all year in terms of tools. Like, it saves so much time being able to make things flat. All together now. How does it fit? Like a glove. I've actually been looking forward to this for a little while now. Because all the aluminum fab is done, I can finally switch my welder back to the gas lens for doing stainless stuff. Need to resharpen the tungsten. Probably about time to get a new lens too. This is for a cup. There's probably a couple hundred hours of welding on this one. Now the thing about welding stainless is it really, really likes to warp. I mean, you put some heat to it and it goes nuts. So I'm just going to tack weld it here in the vise, but to finish weld it, I'll pull the wastegate off. I'll put the V-band here together, clamped as one assembly, and that really helps kind of even out the heat. And it doesn't eliminate warping, but it like really, really reduces it. But at least this way I can tack it 2 or 3 places and it will be where it belongs. This is the easiest one to get to, so we're just going to pull this wastegate off, use it to weld the little V-band. These are the Summit wastegates. I think they're a 45 millimeter, and they have an 8-pound spring in them. So that's kind of like our baseline boost level. And depending on what type of boost controller we put on top of that, it could go up from there. But like, there's no need to go less than 8 pounds for any reason on this truck. Pro tip: anytime you're working with these little stainless screws that come with like wastegates and stuff, always put some of this anti-seize on there, because these will gall and you'll break them all day long. But a little anti-seize goes a long way. But now we weld. And for this one, somewhere around 120 amps is where we'll set the machine. Probably don't need that much, but that's where we'll start. Now, anytime you're welding stainless, you really should back purge it, like especially tube, where it won't be shielded on the inside. But for me, for automotive stuff, Really the only time I do it is if it's before the turbocharger. Because if a little bit of that like sugaring stuff breaks off, you don't want it to go into the turbo. But like the exhaust system, anything after the turbo or the wastegate, I just don't do it. Should, but I don't. With the wheel off, you can see the last fabrication challenge that we're trying to solve. That's the wastegate dump tubes. These guys are right here. Now, a lot of times people will recirculate basically where you come from here and just go back into the downpipe. Now, I did that on the ugly truck and it works really good. It's quiet when it's under boost. It's a really, really stealth. Cool way to do it. But on this one, we're going to vent it to atmosphere because I want it to be a little bit rowdier, and there is a performance component. If I recirculated this now 2-inch wastegate pipe into the 3-inch part of the downpipe here, that's a lot of exhaust gas in a small area. Now, the downpipe does transition to 3.5, so we could recirculate it down here, but then still, all of the exhaust from this bank of the engine would have to go through this pipe here. But if we keep this vented to atmosphere, or kind of to the floor, I guess, instead of all of it going through a 3.5-inch pipe, most of it's going through a 3.5 and the rest is going through a 2, which is, in mathematical terms, better. Less back pressure, I guess. Here's my challenge though. I bought exactly one builder's kit. Has 6 bends total, which means I'd like to build one side using a 180, a 45, and a 90. Of course, we can buy another one if we have to, but that's my challenge. 3 pieces for one side. And we're gonna get started by making a cut in our U-bend. Somewhere in here. Here goes nothing. First cut down, this is going to attach to the wastegate little cone, kind of like that, except I need a 1-inch extension in between. So we'll have the short piece on, and then we'll cut it at 1 inch. That way it's easy to hold the piece. You know, every now and then, with a little luck on your side, it just works out. So this is basically our 180 with a little bit of the straight sections missing. And we kind of cut, we clocked, and we lined it up. That's gonna go somewhere in there. It's gonna go somewhere in there. That's actually gonna work out pretty good for the first part of the pipe. And then from here, all I really have to do is add a bit of a 45, and that's it. So definitely, we had luck on our side on this one. Now, here's the only bad part about using some of this inexpensive Chinese material. On the inside, or the outside of the bend, I guess, it's really thin. On the inside though, not bad. There, see how we did. That's what we got so far. A couple of areas to look out for. We just need clearance around the shock tower, which we have. And I'm gonna trim it a little bit just so the welds kind of line up, but basically a 45 on the end of that, and we'll just kind of cut it flush. Well, my GoPro died in the middle of kind of the fabrication process, but it's all tacked up. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. I added a little slight kick out to the side. I took one of those little flared pieces you can kind of see and put it on the end. Just kind of added a little bit of style, and if I can get under the truck, you will see it matches the same thing we did on the back of the tailpipe. So, yep, we'll get this one welded up and get to work on the other side. And I know I said a minute ago I probably wouldn't purge these, but with how thin this material is, I figure it's probably a safe bet to back purge it, just so we get the most strength out of the weld. Hopefully it doesn't crack or anything like that down the road. Now the trick is that I have to hold this in exactly the right place, probably with no gloves, while I tack weld it. So just gonna pull the wastegate dump back out, weld that tab, then I'll probably pull the downpipe and fully weld the tab on it also. And now with the tab holding the two pipes together, pretty much rock solid. This is something I'm kind of excited to put on so I don't have to stare at my little custom red covers. It took me a while to find the filter that would fit on this side. I even had to redo the upper hose, but these are from Berger Motorsports. They're normally sold for like single turbo BMWs where they don't have a lot of clearance. And they say they'll do 700 or 800 horsepower-ish, so should be about perfect. And we chose blue to match the future color of the truck. Another week has come and gone. Another week where I didn't quite get as much done as I initially hoped, but it's just part of life. I mean, we're running a business here, we're running a channel here, and my time is split. But that's all right. And I know I say this week after week after week, we're getting so close to the finish line. And that's the truth, because every day we're knocking one little thing off the list. And I do have to apologize kind of to you guys, because I know that there's a lot of you who'd be like in love with us if we could get it done in one episode and then build another truck in the next episode and a car and a whatever. But that's just not the reality. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch YouTube. I know there's a lot of people out there who build things quickly and they look cool, but there's so many people who don't know what it takes to do something correctly. Now, does doing it correctly matter? I don't know. I mean, to most people, maybe not, but to me, absolutely it matters. And I don't really know where I'm going with this rant, but to say thank you guys for watching, and thank you for hanging in there with me as we spend the 10th month in a row of fabricating and cutting and welding and plumbing and making this thing something that you will never see anywhere else. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's twin turbos out there, but I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of think, man, I wish I could half-ass a few things here and there and get it done quicker. But don't worry, we're not going to do that. I'm stubborn, I'm OCD, I'm ADD, so I'm pulled every which way. But thank you guys for watching. I do honestly appreciate it. Maybe by the end of the summer we'll make some passes.